Hi, Namaste. I'm Kiran Kumar Savlani and I'm an energy healer and I'm here in a very close encounter with Dr. Pradeep Ullal. Pradeep Ullal, Dr. Pradeep Ullal is the head of the Kebala Foundation, a spiritual place and a beautiful destination to be. He's a Maha Siva Yogi and a Super Gamma Master. And I'm very excited to be here in close conversation and asking him lots of beautiful questions for you all to enjoy. Namaste. How do we balance? How do we find fine-tuned balance?
It's very powerful understanding. Everybody wants to peak themselves, but the core of it is we have forgotten how to step into a state called balance. Balance is the like a game changer. Okay, then you rise to the peak of your awareness. If you are not grounded enough, you are still having to deal with ailments. You have to deal with the bills and payments and stuff like, which is drawing you back into this earthly struggle, which is you are paying a price to be on this planet. You are trying to balance between social, economic, a struggle which can constantly make us feel threatened, vulnerable. So, the fine tuned state is how to bridge those gaps which you have from the transitional points. The first state is, can we be honorable in our existence on this planet? The only way it could be is you have to set your basics right. If your basics is, if I need a shelter, a roof on my head, I need to survive on this planet in an honorable way, in a powerful way, in a beautiful way. So, what is that meant to be? That means we have to have ability to put all our skills together. We have to have the ability to bring the ability to connect with our role play, an expression which is so strong that is already honored. So, that means the sign of the balance is we have to be fully incarnated on this planet as with a powerful role play and a unique role play, and we are capable of drawing our skills, talents, gifts into a channelized mechanism, so that we will not have to struggle to deal with the life as a constant threat or a stressful existence. So, that the art of balance is ability for us to enjoy the free spirited being that we are, and yet strike a balance with life, so that we no longer struggling to deal with the so called pressure struggle here. There is like a vacuum pressure, everything is just trying to be threatening to us. So, that we are no longer vulnerable, we are no longer trying. So, that means how can this balance be relevant to our journey? Most people want to become powerful, and the greed is so strong that they forget that the very core of this is this balanced instrument. We have forgotten how to balance this instrument. We have done everything else, we have checked the entire list, but we have forgotten about this body which we are supposed to be fine tuning and attuning this. So, that means the balance is the ability to remain in the instrument and ability to fine tune this instrument, because this is the greatest gift at this moment in this planet. We have a phenomenally fine tuned, I would say calibrated instrument given to us, and yet we have failed to honor it, and we have gone out of balance and synchronicity with it, and we are experiencing only a low frequency struggle of it. So, what we do, we try to grab from out to in and to feel good. We are on a pleasure journey, we are grabbing things, we are trying to feel good, and it is not completing. So, that means ability to balance, it would be first to remember that this body should be a consistent flow. It should be so amazingly flowing through this instrument. You experience a river flowing through, the river of prana flowing through, and the balance of it is equanimity of the grace, which is nothing but a blissful remembrance of this original state of our being. The balance between the blissful awareness and our beautiful role play. That means every action we do is of remembrance of our original state. So, that means we are expressing the divine in a very subtle, but that the balance is so strong that we are not trying to define the divine in a very different language. We are speaking the language of a human, we are still operating as a human, and yet we have the calibration of the divine inside us. The divine fragrance is exuding, and it is exuberance of that beautiful state, and which is consistent, though that the remembrance is so strong. The balance between remembrance and our fantastic role play. The role play is to play the dream, play the drama. We have to give our best. We know that this is a fantastic cosmic joke, this whole life. yet we do the role play with the sincerity of a fantastic drama player. We give our best, we dance, we sing, we create a fantastic, beautiful celebration on this planet. We celebrate our state so beautifully that the higher beings who are watching this beautiful channel are celebrating our beautiful enactment of this drama. And yet the balance is knowing that we are it, and yet we are capable of playing the drama. We know the drama is unreal, yet we are playing it with such dedication and sincerity, and but the remembrance of it is so beautifully aligned that you are able to not get entangled, you are able not to get disturbed, that the remembrance is so powerful that the balance of it is that the samatva, the core concept is samatva, samatattva, all the balance of it is the prana, panchabhuta and panchavayu. The prana comes to us, there is equal amounts of prana flowing across this body, there is the force that eliminates all the toxins, there is a force that circulates all the beautiful pranic flow across the body, there is a force that helps us elevate into higher, which is udana. So, it means there is a circuitry, there is a design, and our balanced state is we are neither so disturbed by this process of the phenomenal uprising of this current. The balanced awareness is when the nadis are flowing, some people shake. Why? The nadis are not balanced. That means the Ida Pingala nadi has to be so supremely balanced, the sun and moon within comes alive. You are neither fat nor you are thin, you are neither overexcited nor depressed. You are so beautiful in that alignment of the universe that the example of the universe is flowing through you. That means it is not a sign of a perfection, but a sign of imperfectly perfect. Everything is flowing. It is not that you cannot have a bad day, that something may not happen according to your will. That means the ability to bridge the gap between the individual will and the divine will, yet we are here as a very small cosmic dust. We remember that we are playing a human role play, which is like a small cosmic dust, yet we are a powerful star in our original state. We are star seeds, we are powerful, we descended from that star, and yet we have to play the human role play to the best of our awareness, to best of the allowance that is passing through us, and yet we are capable of remaining undisturbed by the so called immense struggle of trying to make it happen, and the beauty eludes, and only those people who are trying to manipulate it. When you are beautiful inside you, the balance is that you will feel the beauty everywhere around you. The balance is that you will see the unity in everywhere. There is no trying to manipulate and make it look nice. Everything is already fine until we try to manipulate it. So, when manipulation drops, when you are trying to, you cannot change the course of the river. The river is meant to go and merge with the ocean, and the balance is already set. The nature is already in balance. Can we see it? We are not able to see the nature in balance. We are trying to, interfere. Our human interference is causing imbalance. So, we leave nature as is, it is already beautiful, it knows how to revive itself to reach original frequency and glory. So, the balance is a consistent knowing that how can we rise without a collapse struggle. Most people want to ascend the being state, but they lose the bearings on this planet. They become extreme. Extremity does not lead to a state of balance. Extremity is renouncing, denouncing, is called self-abnegation. You would want to deny yourself food, you want to deny yourself all the joys of life, and then say, I am pure. That is out of sync with this life, out of sync with the reason why you came here, to experience the divine in its all beautiful essence. Everything is meant for us to be used, and that the glory and beauty of it is in right proportions. The right amount of food, the right amount of prana, the right amount of the Mahaprana, Mukhya Prana, as it rises, the sublimation happens. The balance is ability for that highest awareness to penetrate and yet keep us human, strong, balanced, and still make it sound relevant, tangible, accepted state of reality. That focus is that we are universal focus. The universe is as much interested in us as much we are interested in the universe. The balance of it is an exchange between give and receive. Once we complete the cycle of giving and receiving, the balance automatically sets in. You will experience the Soham becoming Shivoham, and then everything flows magically, because when it is called Krama Mudra. When you close your eyes, you are one with Shiva. When you open your eyes, Shiva flows through you, and this is balance.
Pradeep ji, please tell us how we can rise in higher awareness.
Awareness is the bridge to consciousness. Consciousness is everywhere. You can't access it. It's there. When something is available in everything, in every atom, how do you grasp it? If it is available in one spot, you can direct your awareness to that one spot and say, okay, this is consciousness. So, how do you access that knowingness that it is everywhere? So, the only option is to fine tune this instrument of receptivity so strongly that we can access it everywhere. It is not confined or limited to any particular spot or any particular space. So, that means our ability to gather it, absorb it and flow through it. The higher awareness is not something which we assume it at some higher plane is only existing. The awareness is everywhere, percolating, permeating into everything, but our ability to grasp it is varying. We are having glimpses of higher awareness, but we are not even available enough to grasp it consistently. So, that means there is a effort made for by people to try to grasp it beyond their capacity. That means our fine tuned awareness is not able to grasp it continuously. That means what is the difference between an average being on this planet who is going through the same trauma of happiness, sadness, suffering, pain, misery, disease, and an elevated being, a yogi, who has liberated himself from pain, suffering, disease and able to consistently be living in that state as an inspiration. So, that means what is the qualitative difference in that state is that ability to realize that this is not it is so strong that it is not possible for that state to be repeated again. You go through a pain so beautifully and so completely that you do not have to repeat that experience all over again. So, that means the awareness has penetrated to the epicenter of the pain. So, that pain learning is no more required for you. So, you go gather that experience, complete that, absorb that experience so powerfully that you do not have to repeat it and wallow in that same frequency of that pain or suffering. So, that is when we rise in awareness. So, it is an experiential journey initially, layer by layer you shed off all the things that we have held closely to us. Awareness is not possible when you are sitting with a huge heavy duty baggage on your head. Awareness, that means we are constantly bogged down by a huge unreal which has become real. So, the ability to grasp the real, which is to receive and not to perceive. So, what the first sign of perception is, there is hallucination, there is wishful thinking, there is perception of illusion as the truth, and then we are so disturbed by the scope of events that are happening around us that we step down to that frequency. So, the higher awareness is when you watch it from a highest angle. If you watch this whole activity from a higher plane of existence, you can see the drama, you can see in the dream, you do not have to try to manipulate the dream, but the mere presence of that elevation of understanding is so high that the scope of that event is that it will never hurt you. The event happens and you are not disturbed by it. You do not react to anything, you respond. You respond just enough for the event to take its own course. So, that means you are not trying to manipulate, you are not trying to change the course of the event, because you know it is futile to change the course, because there is a powerful knowing passing through us, and that beam of light passing through us is, you grasp it, you live it and you radiate that compassion flowing through it. The higher awareness is constant knowingness of the divinity which is permanent in its nature, eternality which is permanent in nature. The awareness is so strong that transient no longer hurts you. The struggle of relationships, the struggle of limited thoughts, all this which is low frequency, an eternal state is permanent love, unconditional love, which it is so consistent that there is no trying to love somebody. And the awareness is percolated into that beauty in everything, unity in everything, synchronicity in everything, and it is related as an ordinary joyful human existence, and yet has the ability to be extraordinary in its effect.
Coming to that, so what are your thoughts on relationships versus connections?
See, if you look at life, what is life? An atom is vibrating, okay? It has got an expansion and a contraction. The contraction and expansion is life beaming, teeming and projecting from there, and then when there was only one atom, the atom did not relate with anything else. Once the atoms gathered together to form a shape or to form a particular character and attribute, then it has its a certain dimension of relationship. So, that means life is a continuous relationship with vibrations.
So how would you explain marriages or parents children relationships versus connections? There are times you can connect with people and just have no relationship label to give them, but you're just connected. How do you explain that?
See, if you look at it from the soul dimension, this big fat drama that we are experiencing is a willful accepted drama. We willfully stepped into the role play, and now at some point, only when there is something of an aberration or a frequency struggle, only then we question it. Otherwise, we are just perfectly in sync with the downslide struggle of a social drama.
But how do you continue keeping yourself in sync with everything around?
How do we keep in sync? Very interesting. When we try to sync, first and foremost, we try to control the event, we are trying to manipulate the people around, we are trying to get them to walk our way, our path. So, that means there is a constant battle here of trying to manipulate the event or the relationship. So, the connection is, the difference in the connection versus relationship is, when the connection within is so supremely strong, the magnitude of that frequency of this shift of this field of awareness, the sphere of influence is so beautiful and so aligned that whoever walks into your auric field is already in a blissful state of connection with you, and our understanding is so deep that the futility of relationship is actually revelation of the cosmic joke. We are never meant to be so called, who created marriages, who created social entanglement? We created ourselves, we built walls. Society is the biggest wall that we have ever self created, and we have tremendous levels of emotional hurt when we want to destroy our own walls. So, we have living in a very beautiful self created struggle, socio-economic struggle of society, where we are interrelating with each other, entangled with each other. We have cords, we have so called falsities to that cords, and yet we believe that we are in, we live in a very pretentious, that obnoxious feeling that yet we are supposed to be behaving in a certain way. We are taming our thinking process to believe that what we think is true has to be related in a certain way. So, there is a complexity which emerges out of a relationship. There is expectations, there is desires, there is intense hurt from not achieving what it was meant to be. So, there is the gap between the contentment and expectation is so strong that we eventually end up unfulfilled and incomplete. So, as long as the relationship is incomplete, we are looking around, seeking around. So, there is a disturbance from our core state of being. We move into a constant struggle of trying to make it happen. So, relationship is trying to make it happen, connection is beingness.
So, in the man and woman balance in
Yes.
marriages,
Yes.
somehow they're in sync for a while, and then after a while they tend to connect somewhere. In any way,
Yes.
with a master or just with another being.
Yeah.
So then what happens?
First and foremost, the very concept of marriage is a disastrous experiment. Okay, it's like an adventure sport. We are constantly trying to make it work from different angles. We are part of an accepted or a forced struggle. First, the accepted struggle is that we have to go through the same typical predictable path where everybody has gone through, and yet we have to have that ability to be come in a state of acceptance that we have to clarify from where we are operating. The struggle here is, first and foremost, we are too embroiled or entangled in the so called struggle between man and woman. Look at it in a very beautiful way. You chose, the soul is neither a male nor a female. The soul is pure essence of the divine, but the role play of a male is to be able to fill in and the female is to receive. So, that means it is like a typical socket and a plug. The socket's role play is to receive and the plug's role play is to plug in. So, when there is a proper plug in between the socket and the plug, the power flows through very evenly balanced, and there is a continuum. So, this is what male and female role play should be ideally. But then what happens is, we often tend to get disturbed by a lot of logical explanations to how a male and female should be. There is a lot of manipulation and control game, power game, the domination game. So, there is a constant battle between who is going to rule whom. Yes. So, the dominance is that of an ego which has been hurt often by either being in a state of tolerance or intolerance. So, as long as it is tolerance, then there is a thread, one thread hanging on a single thread. So, most people are hanging on to that last thread, hoping that there is a hope, there is no trust. So, the principal very foundation of any connection should be trust. So, when there is a trust between a man and a woman to come together, there is a beautiful union possible. Most of us are experiencing a fractured reality of a intense urge to unite, but when the union happens, it looks so pale because it has not led to an ecstatic union as we conceived it to be. So, we have left a lot of desire and lot of incompleteness in our relationship. So, that means we expected it to be a huge powerful magnetic climax. It was ended up in a 20-second orgasm, and with that, and we wondered, this is it? This union is between a male and female is so limited, and that is what people are doing all this struggle for. We had a fantasy of our life that this is what a relationship should be, and finally it ended up into something so ordinary that we felt a huge vacuum inside us. We felt so deceived by this so called fantasy which failed to live to its deliverance or acceptance. So, that means we have always left it open to flow, but we are trying to find the perfect and ideal state into a connection between a male and female, and that is invariably the struggle is the male and female are within in a state of union, and when there is a beautiful Shiva Shakti union happening inside us, then the search for the perfect male or perfect female slowly starts to come down to its core basic, which is, are you capable of receiving? Nobody can give you an orgasm, the very union within can give you an orgasm. So, that means that sorts out the most of the misery of our planet is that we have 7 billion people trying to find union within, and they are not capable of accessing that level of clarity that the union within is already there, we have failed to recognize it. So, that is when the male and female is struggling. So, eventually as you step into deepest knowing that the male and female is within you, the semblance comes in, and that semblance is so strong because you can see it when you look at the eyes of a being, you see at the soul dimensional level, and then you see them at the role play level. You put a mirror to it, you will see the reflections of the mirror is giving you a certain connection. As what are we doing here? We have come together as a soul family, and we are meant to be living a particular role play. We have written the script, and now we are trying to change the script midway, and somewhere there is a conflict in the script that we are not able to come on the top of it and be the director. So, when we are trying to be the director and the actor together, there is sometimes a conflict, and that is when people get often disappointed with the relationship. They are trying to be on a director's angle, director's cut, they are not able to get the director's cut. How can we refine this connection to that level of understanding? So, it takes a lot of initial effort to be able to come into a state where you can come into highest state of acceptance and not tolerance. The love cannot be a tolerance, it can be a phenomenal flow of an unconditionality. And then when unconditionality happens, you are no longer trying to compare, measure how much it should be. When there is no more measure and angle to how much it should be, you are just free spirited being operating in this beautiful connection. The connection comes alive as fragrance. So, most of us are failed to honor this on a multi level. First and foremost, most of us are getting easily defeated in the body. Most of us sag and become unattractive because the frequency is low, and that is when the male and female has a struggle now. How do you find a partner who is in frequency with you? How do you find a partner who can connect you to that higher state. Everybody wants a kick of life. We are trying to refine life to the best of our awareness. The men are looking for the best single malt whiskey, which can give them the highest kick. They are looking for something extraordinary, powerful car, extraordinary, something powerful that it can make them excited. The women are looking for something that can give them something to fill in that vacuum which is unrefined. So, that constant gap of there is a vacuum left and it is unattended, and when that comes together, you will realize that this whole beautiful universe was meant to be flowing in a certain way, in a certain parametral directions. The original design was to flow as a free spirited being. We have chained ourselves willfully into an entangled process, and then the huge polarity of struggle between man and woman is coming in the way, because we are constantly battling between who is going to be the winner of this fantastic battle. And so, there are so much of media focus on male versus female, and that there is a dominating concept of who should be the ideal right sex, right, the perfect one. So, that means we are, the sexist game has destroyed our ability to come into a state of acceptance, come into a state of beauty and flow, and the whole concept is, can you allow yourself to become selfless in love, and then the male and female within becomes beautifully aligned.
So you are suggesting a mind connection over a physical connection to keep this momentum going in this powerful universe.
See, we have come into a state where we are deceived so strongly and our hurt carries so deeply that we are not able to release this emotional pain. We carry the pain so long that it has become a terrible disease or an infection in the body, and then we are wallowing in that state. So, we are already hurt so badly that we are not able to live a joyful life anymore. Then what will a husband or a wife do when you see a partner struggling to deal with basics of life? So, that means something is missing, and the first state is bring back this alignment, calibrate this body, calibrate this thinking process, and come into a state of undisturbed awareness, a joyful awareness. Only then can a relationship be fragrant. Otherwise, it is still, you see aberration or a low frequency struggle, you are trying to communicate, but communication is not effective, expression is always bouncing off, there is a bounce off effect. So, the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, all should be streamlined. It cannot be just of one part of it. Most people take things for granted in a relationship. They are in a high spirited, beautiful, intense, passionate, romantic union when they get married, and it just fades off in a matter of few months and years, and they are on a downhill slide. You see them sliding because you just see that they are not ready on multi levels. Emotionally, they think they are going to come together, but they are having differences. So, that means what we considered as a perfect fit, made in heaven, marriage is supposed to be made in heaven, and what we experience here is the heaven inside is missing because we are not accessed that level of awareness. Obviously, we are looking for something of a paradise, and we found a huge gap in that gap between the male and the female thinking, the gap between a relationship and the constant interaction. So, we are on a downslide. So, the only way to arrest it and to come alive is to relate with that powerful knowing that the connection is undisturbed and eternal.
So what about free spirited? We are all free spirited, and of course, how do we fit into this social setting?
Yes, there is a saying in we have a tradition of Digambaras in India. Okay, Digambara means somebody who considers the sky as the clothing. Ambara means the sky. Somebody who has worn the sky as the clothing is a Digambara, is fearless, walking without a need for a confirmation from somebody, a status symbol or a state of acceptance. There is no meter or measure for a Digambara, because he can walk without clothes and walk on the plains without a fear of somebody trying to measure or compare. And this is the original tradition of ours, which is even today Naga Babas in India are still walking on this planet covered in ash. I am just giving a wild example. The ash is a constant reminder that they are going to anyway get burnt into ash. The reminder is, can we live life by remembrance that every moment you are going closer to that exit point, that you are going to leave this body. But in a social setting, often we forget that we are transient in this plane and eternal in our original state. We only think that we come here forever. So, the heaviness of this is you are trying to grab. As long as we are trying to grab, the free spirited aspect is gone, because you are in a grabbing mode, you want to acquire something, there is heaviness and baggage of responsibility. You continuously gather, you become so heavy, the free spirited state is gone. We want to get married to the most beautiful being. Minute you get married, there is a pressure of trying to have children. Minute they have children, you have pressure of trying to put them to the Ivy League schools. That means we have acquired a certain predictable pressure oriented society, which is nudging each other back into stress mode. If somebody is going off stress, immediately no, you are supposed to be in stress, because it is our tradition, it is our culture to be stressed. We want to be stressed. Minute a free being, you see a free being, it is an intense calling from inside. How could I be that state? But we say no, he is an outcast. Yes. He or she is an outcast, because we can't accept an outcast. What is the difference is, if the free spirited being is undisturbed, he becomes a leader, or he or she becomes a leader. If you are not strong enough, you become an outcast and completely denigrated by social measure.
Any advice you like to give to all those free spirited beings out there?
We are all deep down inside, we want to be free spirits. There is an intense urge to be free spirited, but then we slowly drop ourselves to a commonality of the struggle. We want it to be, look, oh, how is it possible that I look totally different and I am an oddball, they call it. I am different from how I am supposed to be. So, that means we are constantly threatened by how others think about us. So, free spirited being is an ability for us to be undisturbed in every possible way. That means, what happens when you are no longer trying to please anybody? That means, you are no longer trying to conform to a certain level of thinking and ideals. You are not a cult, you are no longer trying to please a social setting, no longer trying to impress any godhead that you have created in your persona. So, that means a free spirited being is untrapped, that is not conforming to it, it is a non-conformist state. So, that means it is a fragrance of the divine pouring through. You are no longer trying to make it work, because in that free spirited nature, first and foremost, how are we free? You cannot be claiming to be a free spirit if you have 100 diseases hanging within you. So, that means first liberation is ability for us to overcome the suffering, pain, disease and limitations and resistances which chain us back into limitation. I have met so many people in my life where they have worn a saffron and walk on the streets as free wandering monks, but they are so stuck up in their body that they are not able to liberate the body from this pain. That means the Jivan Mukta Avastha is a true nature of a free spirited being. Somebody who can walk on this plane without ability to, having the ability to rise above the so called paradigm. The paradigm keeps pulling us back into this limitation, which is, how am I supposed to behave in a typical predictable manner, and I am following the same patterns. So, a free spirited being sees a pattern and rises above it, quickly identifies a pattern, rises above it. It has the ability is so strong that the Jivan Mukta Avastha is a constant reminder that I am to be, the Mukti is a liberation. So, that liberation in a multi-stage, liberation from the tremendous pull of this samsara, which is trying to mold you into a very predictable mold. You see the mold? Most of us fit into a mold. If you do not fit in, you are branded as a misfit and denigrated. So, a free spirited being, very few beings are free spirited in my understanding, because to be able to live that state takes tremendous levels of courage. The two statements which really help to understand, Swabhava Vijayati iti Shauryam, which means ability to rise above the inherent nature of us, which is chaining us to the enslaved idea. It takes courage to rise above it. Then it needs even more intense courage, Ati Shauryam. So, Indriya Vijayati Ati Shauryam. Somebody who is not pulled by the sensory struggle of entrapment can rise and become a free spirit. that takes ati shauryam, that means tremendous courage to rise above it. So, that courage is so phenomenal that is beyond the ordinary.
Dear Guruji, now please tell us, how does grace align us?
A lot of misunderstandings have happened across our belief systems. We often think grace is only granted to a few elite beings and rest of them are just common strugglers on this planet. Grace is flowing equanimously across the universe. It is not, grace is nothing but a encoded beam passing through. So, whoever is meant to grasp it has the deserving ability, and the deserving ability is so strong that the grasping should become meaningful, relevant and reflect itself in its effect. So, what is the sign of a grace? Flow. The simple answer is flow. Are we flowing or not? If you are flowing, then it will reflect in this beautiful instrument. It becomes alive, so light and so beautiful, so fragrant that there is no trying to claim the glory of grace. It reflects, it radiates, the sphere of influence, the magnetism is so strong that you do not try to claim that the grace is flowing, because it is obvious, something which is so transparent and so magnetic that you do not have to try to define it anymore. How does it align? Or first foremost, how is it we have missed out this phenomenal, powerful, unilateral, consistent grace which is flowing across? That means we have forgotten or not even able to remember that it is flowing everywhere. So, we are trying to access it only in a few pilgrim spots, we are trying to look at sacred spots, we are trying to think like grace can only flow through this particular idol, this particular master, this particular place. So, we have confined it to a very small bandwidth. There is a saying in Hindi, Jahan maun wahan tirth. That means, if you come into the innermost silence within you, it is already sacred. The tirtha is the sacredness. So, that means, how does it grace align us? First and foremost, there is no trying to be somebody. You are a unique frequency who is meant to express it in such a precious way, it cannot be copied, measured, compared. So, when there is no comparison of trying to be something else, you are reflecting the divine in such a way that there is no other way but the fragrance of it. That means, each and everything is creation in its flow. The first sign I would say is that I would drop. The individual claimant, the I, trying to be I, me, myself, trying to encapture this and claim the glory will go away, because it is so fragrant and so aligned to that source that the individuated I is merged with the universal I, the cosmic I. So, the I becomes now relevant in everywhere. So, I in you, the I in me is the same. The first sign, how it aligns us, you will feel unity everywhere. There is no more concept of your God, my God, your religion, my religion. There is no concept of me trying to be more powerful than you. The comparison goes because you are unique. The sign of enlightened awareness is that you start to experience the divine in everything. So, then you will no longer trying to compartmentalize, you are no longer trying to measure somebody's capable of your so called flow. That means, you become so aligned, your awakened state is you are not bothered who is asleep or who is awake, because you are constantly in tune with this higher flow, and this awareness is so strong. A part of us is ascending, which is the soul frequency, and a part of us is also coming alive, which is the awareness of this earthly dimensional existential flow. That means, it reflects first and foremost the aliveness, the fragrance of that is so beautiful that there is no more bifurcation and compartmentalization of our idealism versus rational versus logic versus creativity. Everything just becomes one. The whole brain comes alive, unity in the brain. It is called neural synchrony. The seventh wave, the gamma wave awakens, and you can feel compassion for everybody, and not compassion for only little nuclear family that you have created. So, most people become shunted to a small frequency. I, me, my children, my wife, oh, that's my family. Beyond that, my family is not family. It is I have to treat them with kind of a border, a barrier. So, the sign of enlightened awareness is how it aligns us. It makes us feel the feel for people in so much compassion that it is real, and the real aspect of it is an enlightened being is constantly in an action flow. Even his silence is so strong that there is a wave passing through and silence becomes explosive. An awakened being can look at things and the things will not remain the same again. It aligns us in such a way that it shows, the divine shows that this is possible. It's a fantastic example of a being which is walking on this plane with the highest integrity and yet supreme ordinariness. Supreme ordinariness, that means no claim, no glory, just a pure beautiful remembrance that we are all the same, and yet we have the beauty of that flow which is so strong and yet does not try to be claiming a glory which is not required. So, it means the beauty of this alignment is in multi levels. It has to reflect in the state of health, it has to reflect in the state of well-being, in the state of our beingness, which is the constant knowing. Most people categorize often with their doing or doership, that I did this, I did this. And enlightened awareness aligns us to remembrance that we are not the doers, we can't even create one atom, we are just glorified users, and the beam of light is passing through. It may not be permanently aligned with this instrument, because this instrument may eventually fade off and go away. The remembrance of alignment is how long you can hold the beam depends on the levels of our involved trajectory of this beam. That means we are going to, if we are meant to extend that role play stronger, then we are going to hold the beam longer. That means few masters on this plane who held the beam longer so that their fragrance sustained longer, they could relate with this world in a very fragrant way, and they sustained that awareness so strong, the magnetic influence spread and people just gravitated to that knowingness, and that beam sustained that level of purity and that level of innocence, beauty, connections, and it just became a supreme example of what is possible. So, enlightened beam primary purpose is to tell you and me that there is something higher beyond our comprehension, beyond our imagination, beyond our confined reality, and that is possible when something extraordinary happens, beyond the laws of physics, beyond the laws of our intelligence and science that we have encaptured as a laboratory reference model. So, something when it happens extraordinary, we believe that there is something beyond, and that beyond is as grace descends, spirit ascends, something magnificent happens. So, what we deem as reality is shattered, our belief system is shattered, and then we see something extraordinary, and that fragrance is alive in multi-dimensional expressions. Grace does not mean only one way. It could be in the form of a creative expression, in the form of an art, it could be mathematical, it could be musical, it could be in a form of a language, it could be in the form of a tremendous art form or a dance or a singing, it could be anywhere. So, the alignment is unique to the frequency of the role play, and it is not necessary that you have to compare one grace with the other and claim this is better than the other. There is no such thing as, oh, the singer should be better than this, I like this enlightened awareness, I do not like this enlightened awareness. There is no compare, because every person had come with that creative expression. All is missing is the human struggle of trying to be it goes away, because you allow, like a beautiful bamboo shaft, this open in both ends, and the beam passes through and the expression becomes beautifully aligned to that knowingness that we are not the doers, and we allow to come to that state of vacuum shift. The zero within becomes so strong that the interference of the human thinking drops and aligns us to the cosmic knowing, cosmic consciousness. That is a real alignment from human thinking process to a cosmic consciousness, and which is so permanent that you are not trying to change. It is not transient, that yesterday I had an enlightened beam, today I am struggling to deal with the confusion. No, it is a constant state. It is a constant integrated awareness which is so fragrant and supremely aligned to the highest knowing that there is no point of return anymore. The fragrance continues, the glory continues, and eventually the body may drop or body may ascend. The highest sign of alignment is when this body can become completely able to transform itself into the subtle, subtle, subtle until it becomes a bliss body. And like Swami Ramalingam, you can take this body with you, and the soul wraps the whole body into just blissful awareness and does not even lead a trace of a human existence. That means, what is a sign of an enlightened awareness is that we can convert the gross into subtle, beyond the imaginations of a physical reality that we have assumed it to be, and the consistency is so beautiful that it is a revelation. Each and every moment is a mystical revelation. It happens when we least expect it, and so alignment is constant until we become one with the source fully, and that is called paripurnata. So, enlightened awareness is a continuous journey and so multifaceted, and yet it has an ability to complete at each and every angle, from the human angle, from the spiritual angle, from the ability for us to connect it to higher beings, and you come on the radar, and when one beam of light can change you forever. There is all the karmic seeds that we carry for many, many lifetimes, sanchita, prarabdha, and the akamya karmas. All these three karmas can be completely dissolved into the core by this higher being connection with the rishis. You come on the rishi radar. So, alignment is capable of us to dissolve the so called big baggages of limitations and resistances, and that is when there is something magnanimous to it. Alignment is multifarious. It can reflect in the beauty of the consistent knowingness, and yet that fragrance is so evident that the mere presence, somebody like sitting like Ramana Maharshi in a remote corner in South India in a place called Tiruvannamalai, the whole world came to the experience the bliss and beauty of this master. In his mere presence, people's kundalini awakened and the enlightened awareness penetrated, and Ramana did not even speak a word. He was constantly absorbed in the Arunachala, in the beauty of Arunachala, and the enlightened awareness, the alignment was so strong. Those who came with to the mere presence of that master was that powerful awareness helped each one of them to rise to the highest potential, and this is what enlightenment does.
So there is enlightenment and then there is alignment. So
Yes.
alignment happens when you connect to the divine within you. Since we are all divine,
Yes.
how do we know how we need to connect to this divinity within us?
See, look at it from the highest angle of knowingness. We are powerful beings in the soul dimensional awareness, yet we have confined ourselves to a limitation called human existence, and the power of our role play has become supremely aligned to only an outward and downward process. That means, we are in the serious business of gathering and accumulating. So, what happens is all our interests are to grab something and accumulate it and claim the glory of power. So, you see the power games happening on this planet. Everybody thinks that we are come here to grab a part of this earth. So, all our interest has gone outward since, and this alignment has gone out of focus. So, the constant battle here is between the gaining of the soul awareness versus ego. The battle between the ego and the soul is so predominantly alive, is that usually in the war between the ego and the soul, the loser is a winner. Yeah, unfortunately, we are not able to understand that the soul is constantly enslaved by this powerful, magnanimous, outshooting, overwhelming ego. It is so magnanimous that it overpowers the power of the true knowing. So, that means we know we are divine, yet we have the audacity to question the divine and trap ourselves into skeptical views, rational views, eventually tie ourselves down into a very downsliding stressful journey, and yet claim that we are powerful because we have gathered a huge estate. We have gathered so much real estate that we are claiming to be glorious. So, that means what is the missing aspect of it is, we are all powerful and divine, yet we are not forgotten how to extract the essence. Divinity is there in everything. It is like a beautiful flower offered to you. If you ask the flower, where is your nectar essence? The flower says you have to extract it, you have to crush it till it becomes one drop. That means the essence is there. The divinity is nothing but the essence of everything. If you go to the essence of it, it is there available to us, but do we make a clarified effort to consistently extract it? We are not in the process of extraction, because we are in the process of gathering. So, that is what is misalignment with the divine within. The failure to recognize the divine in everything is our biggest failure, because we are constantly trying to look for divine in a very glorious presetting, factory setting that we have come. We have a certain belief system which has made us think that the divine is sitting in some 1,000 light years away, and we have to extract that awareness only through a certain way. So, you have pre-confined ourselves to that knowing, and what is happening to us is alignment is unification process. Alignment is not for one person. Enlightenment is not one person getting enlightened. Enlightenment is a state where you can experience the divinity in everywhere. So, that means once you experience that, how can you separate the alignment from enlightenment then? It is a constant beautiful mix which happens. It is like a beautiful fit which happens. The alignment is constant, the enlightened beam is constant. It is like a two beautiful units fixed into that knowingness. It is like a click into alignment. Enlightenment helps us to click into alignment, and alignment constantly helps us to remain in enlightened awareness. If you are out of alignment, the beam shifts to the next deserving being. That means, if you fail to honor this enlightened awareness by corrupting it with power and greed and games of trying to manipulate and dominate, the beam says this is not worth using this beautiful instrument, it has to shift to another instrument. That is why most people you see, they have gathered awareness for a little while, and they suddenly they say fall from grace. What is the meaning of it? That means you had the ability to relay this grace as beautiful pure expression. We failed to honor it by the clamor and clutter of the greed game, and we eventually, that grace is no longer flowing the way it was meant to be. It shifts to the most deserving being, and that is when you see that there is a universe knows what is the best, most ideal, most deserving being to transmit through. It chooses its own directions, its own fits, and it has a powerful higher beings which are gathering themselves to know that the most deserving being is capable of transrelaying this beam, and that is why this is a constant knowing. Alignment has to be there by our conscious effort, and then we surrender to the highest knowing, and the beam comes into alignment.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your precious time and answering all these lovely questions that I've had, and I'm sure the rest of them have had as well. And we hope to be doing this more often and getting more and more answers from you, because I truly believe, and we truly believe, that you are spiritually enlightened. And all of this time that you've spent downloading all of this lovely information needs to be spread. Thank you so much.
It's an honor to share, and let's keep connecting and spread this awareness.